Hi guys, Andy here. I've been using the Moto G second generation device for 4 days now. I'm ready to do my review. I think I've seen all I need to see, and if I'm honest, I don't want to use it for much longer. I want to go back to my top end devices. Now that right away might give you an indication of where this review is going. Although looking back when I got the Moto G last year, I didn't want to use that for a long time, but that felt like a better device. Felt smoother, and I'm just not quite getting that from this device, which is weird because the specs, the internal specs, are almost the same. But anyway, we'll move on. I'll go through the review as I usually do. It's not all doom and gloom. I don't want to start it off on too much of a negative, so I would suggest, if you are interested, it is worth watching through the rest because there are a lot of positives with the device, and it's not it's a bad device. But anyway, let's move on. So we'll start off with the design of the device. Once again, it's a nice sort of understated design, although it does have these two big silver bars where the speakers are, much like the Moto E rather than the original Moto G. It feels thinner than the original. It's still 11 meters thick at its thickest point, but because it comes a lot thinner at the edges themselves, it doesn't feel as thick. The soft touch cover feels good. The back comes off easily. We'll just show you that quickly if you didn't see it on the unboxing. The 2070 milliamp hour non-removable battery. You can also see there, if you didn't realise, it takes 2 SIM cards. This version, not all versions will check which you are buying, and also has space for a micro SD card slot. Now none of that is particularly used. Well, I need space for 1 SIM card, but I don't need a second SIM. I don't massively need the SD card slot, if I'm honest. I operate too much in the cloud really to store things on the phone. It's only 6 grams heavier than the previous version, even though we've got an extra ½ inch on the screen size. The hardware itself, the same as the original Moto G, so we've got a 1.2 quad-core Snapdragon 400 CPU, the A7. It's got the Adreno 305 GPU. The screen itself is 1280 by 720p, giving 294 pixels per inch through the IPS LCD screen. It doesn't seem that bright to me, even if you turn the brightness up. So generally I'm on sort of auto brightness. It's hard to tell on the video because of lights and stuff like that, but to me that looks kind of dim. It will probably look quite bright on the camera. So I was a little disappointed by that. Obviously it's got Corning Gorilla Glass 3 on it. It does have the built-in radio like the original. On the back we will see the much improved 8 megapixel snapper. And on the front there's a 2 megapixel. The videos is a lot better. Not kind of top-end device better, but it is a lot better. It's much, I would say it's passable, shall we say. Interestingly, the speakers, I will play a little bit of music for you if I can find.
What we gonna do right here? Let's take you way back, way back.
I think generally they sound okay, they sound reasonable, fairly well rounded, but not as loud as the original Moto G. So I don't know, people get very hung up on, oh, why the speaker on the back of a phone? I look at the front of it. But actually, maybe there's a reason. Maybe being on the back means they can use more real estate for the speaker, I don't know. Whereas when you have them on the front you can only use, I don't know, but this doesn't sound as good as the original Moto G. Well, I don't know, sound as good might be tricky. It sounds good, it's just not as loud. Take your pick what you want from your phone, I suppose, really. The software itself, this one is running Android 4.4.4. It's as close to vanilla as you're going to get, really. You could say it is almost fully vanilla. It does have a few of Motorola's own apps, which you're probably already aware of, sort of Moto Assist, Moto Care, Motorola Migrate. I'm not going to go through those now. You can probably find different videos on YouTube if you want to know what they do. I'm not a big believer in using those sort of things. I haven't really bothered. What I do find, though, unfortunately, it does seem to struggle. I mean, it's probably not going to see it now, but I have found that it. In fact, see, that looks nice and smooth. But I have found quite often it can be quite stuttery, jerky. Yeah, so now it's looking perfectly smooth. So just when I need it to show, it doesn't. So the best example is actually yesterday when I was driving home from work. I've pulled up at some lights on a roundabout, and the car that came around inside me was a Dodge Charger. I love these cars. Oh, I want to get a picture, I want to get a picture. I was listening to podcasts and I was using navigation at the same time. So I've hit the home button. I know that my camera icon is right there. Home button, camera, out the cradle, photo. Should have been easy enough. The car was moving quite slowly in traffic. I'm going to estimate it took 15 to 20 seconds to get the camera app open. By this time the Dodge was gone, long gone. It just really seemed to churn. That's when I noticed it's going from one app to another. You can see it really grinding, and I just don't get that. I used the original Moto G again this morning when I went off down to the gym and back for a few hours, and I was swapping between music and my fitness tracking app and maps and Swarm and all sorts of things, and I just didn't see it at any point. So very odd. I don't know, maybe if I factory reset the second gen and just start fresh it would be okay. Maybe I installed more apps on the second gen than I did when I used the Moto G originally. I don't know what it is, but the original just seems a lot smoother in operation than the second gen. As I mentioned, as we had a look around it, the battery is 2070 milliamp hours. On the original Moto G, I thought the battery was one of its strengths. It seemed to just go on forever. It's hard to say because I've only used it for 4 days, and it's probably unfair for me to comment without using it for a good 10 days, but it just doesn't seem quite as strong as the original. I mean, I say quite strong, obviously it's the same size, 2070 milliamp hours, and this has got a bigger screen, so I'm sure there's going to be people who say, well, obviously the battery's not going to last as long, is it? Which, yeah, fair comment, but the originals were so good, I wouldn't have expected to make that big a difference. Especially for someone like myself who doesn't have the screen on a lot of time during the day. You know, normally it's an hour and a half during the day. I know some people have screen on time of 5 or 6 hours, and you would expect it to make a much bigger difference then. So all in all, it's not all negative. It was a bit clunky, it would churn when I'm trying. You know, it wasn't as smooth basically. But the camera, vast improvement. The screen, I like the real estate. The quality doesn't seem quite as good as the original. Obviously the fact that it's got the slot for the micro SD card would be a big plus for some people. And maybe the fact that it's got the 2 SIM card slots, but then I think there's an original Moto G that allows 2 SIM card slots as well. So it's not all bad. I've been trying to think which would I keep, and I suppose this might be the key thing for some people. Which will I keep? I've got both the Moto Gs. I want to start one of them. I don't need both of them. I want to keep what I think is the sort of best Android budget device. And I think right now I'll keep the original Moto G. It's the smoothness that wins it over. The camera is very good on this, but I don't need a backup camera device. I just need a backup, maybe if I'm going to the gym or cycling or something like that. That's a decent, smooth, cheap device. So if you already have the original, unless you really get bugged by the camera, you're probably best to stay where you are. If you don't have either, to me it is down to the camera. Do you need a good camera? It is very important for a lot of people, in which case, yeah, go ahead and get the second gen. It's not a bad device. It does feel like, when I say it feels, I don't mean the actual build quality. I mean in operation, it does feel a bit more like a budget device than I felt that the Moto G did. I think really this is one of those things that I can't make that decision for you. I can't even really advise you. If the camera's very important, get the second generation because the camera is much, much better. If just smoothness, you don't take many photos, you just want a nice, smooth, slick operator, then go for the original one. There really isn't a great deal between them apart from the camera, the SD card, the original being smoother, probably cheaper, and a little bit smaller. Some people might prefer the smaller device. So I don't know if I've helped you or not, or if you're just even more confused now, but that's my thoughts on the Moto G second generation.